So how did the idea of the Paytm Soundbox come, and how did you go beyond that digital asset to create this entire wholesome ecosystem?
एक आर्टवर्ड होता है, किधर होता है, किधर होता है, बीच में 4 elements घूम रहे होंगे. Whenever we design a screen, the copy that we use, we try to be so minimal and so realistic. And Vijay and I will every day sit on a file.
Hi everyone, and welcome to season 1 of Behind the Screens. Here I have with me Rahul Saini, Chief Design Officer at Paytm. Hi Rahul, it's so great to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
So, we've been having so many talks like behind the screens also and now on the screens also. But the idea is that I think Paytm has been one of the companies that have always had a design first approach or a design thinking from the beginning of time, which is really cool. And, that just makes me very excited to ask you this question, Rahul. 15 years at Paytm,
Yeah.
How have you stuck around so long in one place, and how has it been that experience?
They pay you well, actually, so you can stick it out. So Paytm has been a journey, it's something that I've built myself. It's that, it's like my baby kind of a feel to it. And there's never been a day in my life where I've felt, that I've not been engaged enough or, I'm getting bored doing the same thing. It's never been that case. And, being a designer, if you get into a very monotonous kind of a role, then you tend to jump around and, figure something out. But out here, it has been every day has been so different, so challenging that I've never had a time to think, that I've spent 15 years already. And that's a great, way of looking at how the culture of the company has been, by the way. So I think that's how we built the whole company around it. Yeah. And being part of it since the beginning, so it's like felt that, we built it that way. And I hope that, a lot of my team members all stick around for so long. Some of them have actually, so that's great. But yeah, so it's been fantastic that way. The journey has been fantastic.
That's amazing. I'm a kind of person that's always interested in knowing the culture of different companies. And obviously, Paytm's culture is something that piques my interest a lot. So, can you tell me a little bit more about how the culture at Paytm has been? Have you guys been doing something consistently? Has it changed over time? Was it different in 2013? Is it different in 2023? What's that like?
So, Paytm as a company is something which started off in 2011, but the company has existed for before that. It's something that has existed 10 years before that. So, the culture has been, kind of given to us in the legacy also. And the culture has been mostly about execution, fast execution, speed delivery. Specific to Paytm has been built around a lot more things than delivery. It's been mostly around trust because we're a financial institution, So we have to build something around trust. We have to ensure that, whatever we do eventually revolves around that. And hence the culture of product has been around that. The culture of the company is could be different for different people, For me, it's very different. Again, like I said, I've been part of it for so long. I've felt that the culture has obviously moved from what it was day one to today because of the number of people that you've added and all that. But again, like I said, the core culture of the company has been execution, speed delivery, faster to the market. So all those things combined is what forms our culture. And hence there is always been an urgency to deliver thing. And I think more or less that's what it means.
Does it look like everyone's running around in Paytm, what's the never release, we have to, figure this out? Or is it like for example, at Pineapple, we were full family, and it feels like, okay, this is a novel thing, but it plays such a huge role to everyone that, okay, I can snack at any time and have fun, and that startup culture makes things fun.
Definitely, it has been like that. Now, for the last 2-3 years since the COVID, obviously we've not been going to office that much, but yeah, when we used to be in the office, it was always I would say it's like a fish market in a way. And there's so much of noise in the flow. Designers were working at the same time, and you could see the designer's desktop or the laptop always covered around with so many people trying to look. Acha yaar, kuch kar lete hain change, let's build something. And it's not only about designers and product managers. I mean, for that matter, our CEO and our, product, business people will also be there in the same, space and trying to figure out, okay, this is what we're building. Because design is something visually there. It's a face on the technology that we build, right? Yeah. So everybody wants to know what is happening and how can we make it better. So that was the kind of, feel, the culture we used to have.
Yeah, and I saw in one of your articles about how you were, 10 years at PTM that's there, and I saw these stickers that were there on the glass, walls. I don't really remember that. Yeah, they write John Lennon and Steve Jobs, and like, who did that? Like,
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, we all did it. Our team used to do it, and Vijay is very, very, into music. And we used to have, a live music station in our office. So Vijay used to play music in the evenings, and we used to have these Bose speakers, and it was loud, like a DJ competition going on.
Oh, wow.
It was a very fun environment that we used to have. Even now, in Zoom calls, at times we have that kind of a thing where, we'll suddenly play music. So we have those fun moments. Nice. We still have those. And we take a lot of inspiration from music. Yeah. Rock stars,
Wow, yeah. So cool. So one thing you spoke about was trust, right? And a lot of times Paytm has to, cater to audiences coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. And, when you do that, do you have to oftentimes battle between constantly building trust or releasing a product really fast? Or a feature really fast?
No, it's always a balance between both. See, trust is the core of everything that we do.
Yeah.
It is not that I'm going to build something specially for trust. It has to include trust in everything that we do, right? Speed of execution is around it. We have to make sure that it's delivered faster. Otherwise, you are late to the market.
Yeah.
So everything that we do has to include trust.
Yeah.
Now, there are certain products which require more depth, that can take a little longer time to deliver. But end of the day, they have to carry trust. It's a financial product, right?
Yeah.
For you, $50 might not bother, but for somebody, even 1 rupee might bother a lot. So eventually, we have to make sure that, we kind of find the right balance of trust and execution and even visual design aesthetics for that matter.
Yeah. So, and when you're building trust, does it like change, like when you have built it from the start and then you become a brand and then everyone just knows you and trusts you, right? Does it change as you design further into the future? Does it remain constant as the messaging that you send out to the audience? Does that alter in any way?
See, the brand value will always remain the same. I mean, what we stand for, right?
Yeah.
It's the delivery and how you deliver the same trust to the consumers would obviously vary from product to product and, from service to service. It's about, end of the day, how well you can execute that, trust in your product, how well you can design that trust in your product. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen some of our recent things that we did, in payments where if you're on a call, you can't send a payment. Mm-hmm. So it blocks you, tells we possibly some scamster is trying to scam you to send money to him or something like that. So we kind of alert you that way. We block you and tell you, can you not do it this way? Or a situation where you're sending the money to somebody for the first time. We'll tell you, okay, you're sending money for the first time to this guy. Are you sure you're sending to the right person or not? So we've started building up smaller things. And to that matter, if you look at Soundbox for that matter, is a fantastic example of trust, right? Yeah. The merchant always had a problem of how do I know whether the money has come or not? How the customers always stuck, yeah, maine to bhej diye. Did you get it or not? I can't do anything. Now it immediately tells you if the money has reached me, right?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic example of how trust has been built around a product. So yeah, that's how we're executing trust around everything that we do.
That's amazing. I'm actually going to skip to the Soundbox question because I want to know your journey from the Paytm Soundbox. Like, how did you think, as a young designer, when you start off, you're only concentrating on that design that you have to complete. You don't really think about everything around that design. Even the thinking that, how do I mix business needs with consumer needs when I deliver a product comes to you after a year or two because now you're not worried about your fundamentals. So how did the idea of the Paytm Soundbox come and how did you go beyond that digital asset to create this entire wholesome ecosystem?
I think first of all, let's not look at design in silo of something that we build on screen, right? And that's something that is live on the phone only. I think design is a complete experience that you build around a product, right? Around a service. So number one, that's the part, right? So number two, interestingly, Soundbox was not a creation of the design team.
Oh.
It's again, if you go back to the question of how about the culture of the company, it's about thinking, right? Everybody is thinking how to innovate, how to bring about better experience for the customer, right? Soundbox came out of this necessity of, payment assurance to the merchant. And actually, it was Vijay who came up with this idea. He always had this problem. He was going somewhere, you paying to the merchant, and he couldn't figure out, how can we do something which can give a better experience to both of them at the same time, and deliver, what I want to deliver to the merchant. And that's, he came up with this idea of sound, and if you can do it with sound, and that's when you started to experiment with building a product around it. But that's a long story to it. But yeah, but the shorter part is that we eventually came up with a prototype of doing a Soundbox, and we experimented and it became a hit. And now we have probably Soundbox version 3, which has come out, which has now tap to pay also. And we have a dynamic QR code stands, which we did, which can, just show you the QR code of the specific amount that you want to charge. So the merchants show that the same amount is coming to me. So we have a lot more innovations now in the same domain. But yeah, we've done fantastic, I think, in the Soundbox space.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that I'm going to my merchant to just buy like chini, and I'm like doing my Paytm, charge, and then there's a sound that comes from behind. Itna amount cut ho gaya. I was like, oh my God, this is like, where did that come from? And I realized that this is such a cool product, and like nobody else had. Like everywhere I go, I see the Paytm Soundbox in a small format.
That's built for India, right? And that's how we design, right? That's how you build experience for your customers, right? Yeah. And customers not just the user on the phone, right? The customer is also the merchant at the back in the counter.
Yeah, definitely. So in one of the articles that you wrote, you said that you follow the principle of designing for the lowest denominator, and you've translated that as designing for someone with the least amount of resources or abilities. But when someone has low tech understanding, how do you innovate for them?
I think partly what we talked about in the past is about, the Soundbox is a great example of that. QR code is another example for that. Yeah. It's how do you, build services around the lowest denominator is basically by ensuring that you live their lives in a way. How do they interact with the product? And end of the day, all the product design that we do, everything that we're building, is actually putting an interface to the technology, right? How easier can you build the technology for that guy who does not even understand technology, right? End of the day, what is product design, right? Product design is all about building something that is making somebody's life easier. You solving a problem end of the day is what typically you will say in a product design example. But end of the day, you're putting a face either to a technology or you're innovating something as a product designer and you're saying, can the technology build this or not, right? It's both ways. But end of the day, you're putting a face in front of the technology. You're an interface, and you're making that interface so simple that the person who wants to use it is able to use it, right? Yeah. So while designing for lowest denominator, I think we would consider situations like that. How would that person behave in such an environment? How can you make sure that he understands this technology? Initial days we would, when we were building, we came up with the concept of iconography, as an example. All our icons have a meaning to it. If you look at the Paytm, send money, the arrows going out of the rupee symbol, receive money is coming into the rupee symbol, self-transfers like within the person's thing. So each icon represents something, right? So how visually we were able to, break from that fact key whether the person can read or not, but can he understand this design easily or not? So, and we figured out it was working for us. It was great. Yeah. And that is where we took off from, basically. We started, the first product that we designed with the payment Paytm that we built was around icons. Yeah. Even now I'm sure there's a lot of icons. But yeah, end of the day, people understand the icon easily. Yeah. It's visually there. Even if you can't read, you can understand an icon, right? And then building the experience around it. And that's how Soundbox, I said, Soundbox is a fantastic example of how you build an experience around it. People who can't read, people who don't even know how to use a phone, people who don't even know how to, check the balances on the phone, knows that the money has come to their account, right? That small vendor at the stall, that guy who's selling small time stuff on his radio, he understands, ki paise aage hain. That is what you have to achieve, right? That is what we wanted to achieve. And I think we kind of did that pretty well that way.
Yeah, which actually reminds me about one of the conversations that we were having. Your app has icons everywhere. And, we were having this conversation on clutter and how, when you first time would see something like that, you might get overwhelmed and you might feel like, oh my God, there's so much going on in that screen. And you were talking about how India is a culture, how they perceive it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about, how Indian culture is all about. So we don't look at clutter as clutter. We look at clutter as the way of life for us. Like in Bombay, when you're walking around the city, there's so many things happening around you. There's so much of clutter. Yet you're able to navigate your way through it, right? You know where you want to go or how to find things. I found out your office very easily, right? Even in spite of all this clutter that's around it, right? Where I was coming to is that as a culture, we have been brought up in such a way that we are not bothered by clutter that way. We can simplify our way around it. We can find things around it easily. So I don't look at clutter in that function. I would say, can we organize our information better? Maybe give the same kind of information to the user, but can we organize it better? To reduce that clutter, which somebody is not able to understand. Okay, because in digital space, we have so much of opportunity. Can we build it easier for the consumer to navigate or discover things? Yes, we are kind of, moving in that direction. We've already done that part. So, yeah, so the clutter aspect of things is very different for the Indian mindset. I don't think, we would not agree with me on that, but a lot of people who've lived in smaller towns have experienced, the life in that way.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree, because when I was again a younger designer, I would look at super apps and go like, oh my God, how would they do it? Like, they have to give you all options possible about everything. They can't, how would they simplify it? And I'd be like, always coming back to PTM design, always coming back and being like, look at the organization of how this works. How will it work? How can I do this? How can I make it? So PTM was an inspiration for me whenever I had to think about super apps and being able to navigate through everything.
So I think another thing is that we're not done yet, right? We're still figuring it out. I would say that we've done a lot of it. And as we are done and as we are growing, we have a lot more services to offer to the customers, right? So I think it's a constant challenge for us also to keep figuring out the next way of iterating the same product and making it much more usable to the customer.
Yeah,
so I'm sure by, how voice has become more relevant now and how ChatGPT is getting integrated, probably that might help us find better solution for reaching to the next level of customers.
Yeah. Have there been any discussions about generative AI at PTM? I know it's insider.
We kind of openly said it a couple of days back that we are working on it, especially in terms of fraud detection and all that. So yeah, we're working on it.
Anything from consumer and for consumers to experience maybe?
Or we will have a lot of stuff for them as well.
Might take us some time to have that.
Of course. I mean, like I said, there has never been a day where we don't do something new.
Yeah.
So we're building something new for you there as well.
Nice. I'm excited to see what comes up next. So as a design leader, you have to make key product decisions alongside founders and CEOs and, other company leaders. Going back a little bit in 2016 when demonetization hit us, what were the key decisions you had to make? What then trade-offs that you had to do? What did that feel like? Because suddenly the country had just come to a pause.
See, demonetization was an event which happened in our calendar.
Oh, okay.
Because we were already there. It was not that demonetization happened and then we started building something new. We were already there. We've been there for last 6 years before that. So we already had the product in the market. We already had a consumer base which was working. It's just that people wanted now to jump onto digital payments much more faster. So we had to just make sure that the progression is easier for them. And at the same time, how can we reach our merchant much more faster, much more better, much more easier? So probably the DIY flows for merchants, making the consumer journey easier. Probably those things is what we refined at that point in time. But that's more about refining those things. I think the decision was never that can we build something new because the suddenly demonetization happened. I think that was not the case for us, luckily.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So my next question is a little different. So if you're a salesperson, you sell more and you try to sell it and to be more successful. As a marketer, you convert more for higher impact. However, in design, you may or may not have a direct outcome associated with it. So a lot of young designers don't know how to measure the success of their work. So I wanted to know, how do you measure the success of your design work?
That's a tough question.
It's a tough one.
I can say, mat measure karo, yaar.
To keep designing.
No, I think there are certain metrics that you can always follow, right? The first and the core matrix is always the numbers, right? Yeah. Whether your business is growing or not. If the business is growing, that means you're doing something right. Definitely doing right. You can always track your feedback from the customer. You can do different kind of scores that you can do. But there's one metric which I personally like to follow within my teams also, that how faster can my engineering build this design? Have we made the design system so scalable and so much faster that if we deliver something today, can they really build it faster? They don't need to come back to us 10 times and say, "Yaar, ye kya bana diya tumne?" I think reducing the tech debt or the design debt to both of the debts for me is one of the measures which I would love to follow all the time. Earlier, if you build a flow, you will see that each workflow is becoming a bespoke design by itself. Over the years, we've had a better design system in place. We have better design managers in place. Fantastic people in my team now who are building the design systems. And because of that, a lot of this tech debt in design debt has come down. That is one metric which I'll always follow. कि यार कितना और उसको faster कर सकते हो. So building a great design system is, I think, one of the tools which would definitely help anyone reduce that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting metric. Like, I like it. I'm definitely going to try to implement this. Okay, very interesting question. Paytm operates in a highly competitive market with other digital payment providers vying for the same market share. How does design contribute to Paytm's ability to be different and to identify itself differently from its competitors?
I think we don't have to identify ourselves as different because we've been there before most of them, rather all of them. So we've been the pioneer there. But yeah, we have to make sure that we keep innovating. And I think that's what we've been doing. And pretty successfully we've been doing that. So it's a constant push and the need for us to innovate that is keeping us ahead of the curve. Nothing more than that, I would say.
So talking about an event that impacted everybody and also designers in a large extent was COVID when it happened. How did COVID impact hiring at Paytm? And, were there any changes that you faced as a design leader there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, COVID has definitely impacted a lot of, the team members as well, because we were used to working in, in a huddle kind of format. कि आप ऑफिस में बैठे हो, सब काम कर रहे हो. And suddenly you are in the home और आप अपने घर के environment में हो. The good part and the bad part has been that कि सब लोग independently काम कर रहे हैं. At the same time, वो collaboration का थोड़ा feel different हो गया. But the interesting part has been that we've been able to hire people now from across the India. I have now people from Himachal to Kerala to Northeast to Rajasthan to Bombay, and even in the India. I mean, not even India, is the world, which has actually helped us a lot because now I can tell my designers, any designer, यार तुम्हारे एरिया में जाके एक्सपीरियंस करो पेटीएम का चल रहा है. अब मेरे को रिसर्च टीम ना अलग से भेजनी नहीं पड़ती. तो I can really say कि wherever you are and however you are placed, you can always go out and feel, what is happening to your product. An advantage of being in Paytm that whatever you build is right in front of your eyes. तो आप जो बनाओगे आपको immediately पता लगेगा उसका feedback क्या हो रहा है. So the good part is कि when these guys go out in the field, I get so much a variety of experiences from them and the feedback from them that now that what we build is much better than what we were building initially. क्योंकि तब तो limited research करते थे आप research team में थे या आप किसी से करवाते होगे research. अब वो variety बढ़ गई है हमारे पास. तो we have a lot of fun now because these conversations happen कि अच्छा वहाँ पे ये ऐसा experience रहा. भाई बिहार का merchant कैसे behave करता है versus हैदराबाद का merchant कैसे behave, दिल्ली का merchant कैसे behave करता है. दिल्ली के merchant smarter हैं थोड़े ज़्यादा compared to वहाँ के होंगे नहीं होंगे क्योंकि छोटे गाँव का बंदा उसका experience उसका circle छोटा है. आप उसके पास जब जाओगे रीच आउट करने के लिए अब उसकी लिमिटेड ऑडियंस है वहाँ का बिहेवियर बहुत डिफरेंट होगा. दिल्ली वाले का बिहेवियर बहुत डिफरेंट होगा. और सिमिलर एक्सपीरियंसेस है जब पीपल व्हेन दे कम फ्रॉम डिफरेंट स्टेट्स टू योर स्टेट तो उनका एक्सपीरियंस कैसा होता है बहुत डिफरेंट होता है. तो वहाँ पे उनका एक अलग मेथड होता है पेमेंट करने का. जब यहाँ आते हैं तो उनका अलग हो जाता है. अब मेरे वैसे तुमसे बात कर रहा था कि वो लेबर जो हमारे घर में काम करती थी वो पेटीएम लेके आते हैं कि भैया मेरे पैसे आए नहीं आए बता दो. और उसकी ऐप इंग्लिश में थी. मैंने बोला यार तू हिंदी में कर ले खुद पढ़ ले. तो बोलता नहीं भैया मेरे को तो पूरा पढ़ना तो आता नहीं है लेकिन मैं किसी को दिखाता हूँ ना यहाँ पे दिल्ली में तो फट से पढ़ के बता देता है क्योंकि मैं इंग्लिश में दिखाता हूँ उसको तो मेरे को बता देते थे कि क्या हुआ है. विच इज़ आई मीन अनदर इंसाइट इनटू हाउ पीपल यूज योर प्रोडक्ट राइट. यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग कि वो हिंदी में चेंज करके पढ़ लेगा बट ही इज नॉट रियली एबल टू डू दैट. फॉर हिम He wants to understand whether the money has come in, whether the money has gone out or not. What is our balance? उसके 3 aspects हैं उसके लाइफ में, बस इतने की अराउंड ही घूमता है वो पेटीएम में, तो वो ईजिली अचीव कर लेता है. गाँव वाला आदमी थोड़ा डिफरेंट तरीके से प्रॉब्लम बिहेव कर रहा होगा उसमें. सो दैट डाइवर्सिटी is what we are able to get because of a lot of people being in the field now, which is great for us. I think एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट था जो मुझसे किसी ने पूछा एक बार कि आप फाइनेंशियल स्पेस में काम करते हो, इतना गवर्न स्पेस होता है, इतनी लिमिटेशन होती है, आप काम कैसे करते हो? मतलब डिज़ाइन कैसे बनाते हो जब इतनी लिमिटेशन होती है? तो इंटरेस्टिंगली पॉइंट वही था कि when you're working in a limited space, I think that is the space which you want to work in, right? That is going to push your boundaries and create something out of it, right? Otherwise, तो you are restricted by कि भाई मैं क्या बनाऊंगा. अगर ओपन कैनवास दे दूंगा आपको बनाने के लिए, तो आप तो कहेंगे यार मैं इस पर कुछ भी बना लेता हूँ. अब मैंने आपको restricted canvas दे दिया, then you are very very focused in what you want to deliver. Then you ask the right questions. So part of the teaching process or the cultural process in what the design team also ask the right questions first. If you're building a design, can you ask the right question and then think about what I want to design? क्योंकि पहले क्या होता है, आपको ब्रीफ मिलता है और आप ना फट से फिग्मा खोल के बैठ जाते हो. That is a typical problem with most of the designers, right? From where we have come, or from where I have come, हम तो पहले बोलते थे पहले पेपर पेंसिल पकड़ो और उस पर बनाओ और फिर तुम सोच के वापस आओ, फिर मशीन पे बैठो काम करने के लिए. Don't just start on the machine straight away. So that process, when you break it down, will start from what is the right question to ask. Do you know the problem first of all?
Yeah.
Why are you solving this? And then if you know why you're solving this, then you ask the right questions around that problem. Okay, who am I targeting? What is that person's personality like? किस environment में काम करता है? A lot of time I have seen my designers not asking questions about environment.
Yeah.
कि what environment are you solving for? Am I sitting at home? Am I working in the office? Am I in the shop? What kind of environment am I? Will my discovery of my service be better when I'm in certain environments or not? Should I push for certain feature when I'm in that environment or not? If you're making a P2M payment or like a merchant payment in a shop, if I throw 10 things at you after the payment, you're not bothered. क्योंकि तुम बोलोगे यार तो मैं पेमेंट करके निकल रहा हूँ यहाँ से, बंद करो आगे निकलो, मैं सामान लेने आया था मैं तो. Whereas if you're sitting at home realizing you're making a movie ticket booking or something else, then you have more attention to other things that are there on the screen also. So how do you break down that process? How do you, filter out the clutter? I think that part of that question is also this, कि how do you filter out the clutter end of the day? तो मेरी तो आदत है, मैं तो पहले पूरी स्क्रीन भर देता हूँ डिज़ाइन से कि इसमें ये भी होना चाहिए, इसमें वो भी होना चाहिए, क्योंकि आप सोचते रहोगे, ब्लू स्काइंग करते रहोगे बैठे बैठे, अब उसको वो फीचर दे दो, अब उसको वो फीचर दे दो. And then you start removing things from it, slowly cutting it down. But if you have that objective in front of you ना कि ये अचीव करना है, cutting is a process which you will follow any which ways.
Yeah.
But कितना काटना है और कहाँ तक जाना है, एंड क्या वो बेसिक नीड जो मेरी सॉल्व करनी थी वो सबसे पहले सॉल्व हो रही है नहीं हो रही है, वो इंपॉर्टेंट आया था. तो स्टार्ट removing the clutter, start asking the right questions. If you want to be a great designer, these are the basic premises that you must follow, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I try to now teach my team also. Ki yaar, I know that you're thinking about it. Let's write it down also.
Yeah.
And having a great team, having a great, design systems also is that I can now get components made for this.
Oh, Smart Figma is like heavenly programmed to do that.
So we have components now.
Yeah.
So you have to place an artboard के ऊपर एक component which is like a small pasted notes.
Yeah.
Ki, okay, why am I doing this? It has questions. And it has questions. Have you read this or not? Have you done this or not? Kind of things. So adding those processes, I have actually reduced my design depth also. And also that is a metric to follow. क्या मैं design ये follow करती नहीं करती. Part of design ops in a way you can say. So yeah, so we've started building more ops now. We've started bringing more design operations into the system, which is actually going to help designers also learn. क्योंकि आप नए डिज़ाइनर्स लाते हो, वो सीखेंगे, वो वही सीखेंगे जो आप सिखा रहे हो, और वो प्रोसेसेस को भी ढंग से बांध नहीं पाएंगे इसके अराउंड. सो हैविंग दोज प्रोसेसेस एंड इम्प्लीमेंटिंग देम राइट इज another aspect of design system and design operations that we do.
Yeah. Very interesting, what I've also realized about processes is that you can document everything that you do, but that documentation, it doesn't work after a certain extent. Like, I've seen a lot of young designers and Pineapple also coming in and being like, okay, I spent 2 days reading 5 documents on, what I have to do in discovery, UX, UI.
Now I know everything about different.
And then, like I know everything and I'm going to start designing and it's nowhere close to what it's supposed to be. And one of my juniors actually came up to me and said that, Drishti, processes absorption by reading doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You need someone to sit next to you and show you the way or experiment or fail.
I would say you have to jump in.
Yeah.
And part of the culture is allowing them to fail, right?
Yeah.
And we have this culture that we allow people to fail. We allow them to create a lot of crap.
Yeah.
If you don't create crap, you will know what is the best outcome out of it, right? अगर आप नहीं बनाओगे तो ये समझ कि आप मैं सबसे बेस्ट डिजाइनर हूँ, एक ही शॉट में बेस्ट डिजाइन निकाल के दे दूंगा.
Yeah.
कभी नहीं होने वाला, कभी होने ही नहीं वाला. आई डोंट थिंक कि किसी ने भी कभी भी एक ही शॉट में बेस्ट तुक्का लग गया होगा, पता लगा ठीक है, मतलब एक शॉट में बेस्ट डिजाइन निकाल के दे दिया होगा. आपकी फिग्मा फाइल बहुत अच्छी लग रही होगी एंड में, जब आप एक सिंगल आर्टबोर्ड दिखा रहे होगे, बट वो बहुत सारे आर्टबोर्ड पीछे छुपा रखे होगे ना आर्काइव के अंदर. वो इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि वहाँ पे जो गलतियाँ करी हैं, जहाँ आप सीखे हो, वो आपको फिगर आउट करना बहुत जरूरी है. वो प्रोसेस है. आप उसी लर्निंग के थ्रू निकलोगे तो आपको पता लगेगा यार बेस्ट चीज़ कैसे बनानी है. नहीं तो आप तो डिज़ाइन डॉक्यूमेंट पढ़ के बना लो. कोई पॉड्स, हमारे यहाँ पॉड्स बोलते हैं डिज़ाइन सिस्टम को. आप डिज़ाइन सिस्टम ले लो और आप बना दो, वो बन जाएगा. बनाने प्रॉब्लम थोड़ी ना क्या है. पॉड्स बनाए, सब सारे कंपोनेंट्स हैं, सारे पैटर्न है, उठाओ एक स्क्रीन बन जाएगी आपकी. लेकिन वो बनानी क्यों है, कैसे बनानी है, वो प्रोसेस, वो थोड़ा स्क्रीन को गंदा करो, आर्टबोर्ड इधर उधर फैलाओ, सब पता लगता है ना क्या हो रहा है. जैसे कहा क्लटर वाली आदत है हम सब लोगों को. आई डोंट नो कितने लोग एक्चुअली डिज़ाइन फिग्मा फाइल अपनी बहुत साफ रखते हैं. मेरी तो कभी फाइल नहीं हुआ. मेरी तो एक आर्टबोर्ड इधर होता है, एक इधर होता है, एक इधर होता है, बीच में 4 एलिमेंट्स घूम रहे होंगे.
I think during design it's all like all over the place and only the designer designing it will know कि हाँ भाई मैं बताता हूँ ये मेरे इधर.
मेरी टीम में से बहुत परेशान होती है इसलिए, क्योंकि मैं अभी भी डिज़ाइन करता हूँ. सो इट्स स्टिल दैट आई एम ऑन द फाइल एंड विजय आई एम एवरी डे सिट ऑन अ फाइल. और जब हम दोनों बैठ के काम कर रहे हैं और 3-4 लोग और काम कर रहे हैं, तो वो ना एक आर्टबोर्ड इधर जा रहा है तो किसी ने उठा के कुछ उधर कर दिया, फिर एक और कॉपी बनाते हैं इसकी, अब इसमें ये चेंज कर लेते हैं, अब इसमें ये चेंज कर लेते हैं, अब इसमें ये चेंज कर लेते हैं. वो करते करते आपके एक ही आर्टबोर्ड के 50 वेरिएशन बन गए होते हैं. फिर हम उनकी लेबलिंग कर रहे होते हैं, जिसमें मैंने ये चेंज किया था, इसमें ये चेंज किया था, ये बेटर था, ये नहीं बेटर था. फिर करके मैं फाइनली एक आर्टबोर्ड पर टैग कर देता हूँ यार ये फाइनल आर्टबोर्ड है, इसको ले लेना.
फाइनल
और फिर उसका था सुपर फाइनल. वो बहुत मज़ेदार होता है. मतलब हम लोग तो अभी भी करते हैं, और सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग है मैं अभी भी करता हूँ और विजय भी करता है वैसा बैठ के. तो हम लोग तो बिल्कुल इन्वॉल्व हैं डिज़ाइन के अंदर.
How do you find the time? I mean, as a design lead running such a big team, how do you find the time to be hands-on in design?
This is my first mandate in my team.
Yeah.
I don't hire managers. I don't want managers. I said, if you are not hands-on, you don't know what is happening यार. आपको पता ही नहीं कि क्या चल रहा है इंडस्ट्री में, क्या इनोवेशन हो रही है. और जब तक आप पेपर पेन से ना बनाओ या फिग्मा पे आके ना बनाओ कोई चीज़ को आउटपुट ना दो, आपको रियलाइजेशन नहीं होगी कि आप क्या बना रहे हो. आप ज्ञान दे दो यार, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, मैं आपको बहुत अच्छा ज्ञान दे दूंगा एक डिज़ाइन के बारे में. जब तक आप आर्टबोर्ड पे बैठोगे ना खुद, तो आप उसके ना शॉर्ट कमिंग नहीं देख पाओगे. मैं एक कोई डिज़ाइन के लिए मेरे लिए फाइल लेके आया कि यार उसको रिव्यू कर लो. मैं रिव्यू भी तब करता हूँ जब मैं फिग्मा फाइल पे खुद होता हूँ. मैं पीपीटी में रिव्यू करता हूँ, मेरे को इरिटेशन हो जाती है कि यार ये आई कांट सी दिस, नंबर 1. एंड देन आई हैव टू मिरर इट ऑन माई फोन, आई हैव टू फील इट, आई हैव टू एक्सपीरियंस इट. And that's when you can build a great product. नहीं तो आप नहीं कर सकते. I don't know how people do it. If they are doing it otherwise, I should learn from them. They can. And it'll save me a lot of time.
No, I think people are not doing this where they're filming their design. Like a lot of designers tend to just be designing for a mobile app and you're doing it on a 27-inch desktop or a 16-inch desktop. Then whole experience.
I learned from my mentor, one of my designer, Angela, who's still a designer. So I learned from. I met her a couple of days back and she still was on a big Mac. So usko to, she loved the big screens, and because she's more of a print person. And she was still on a Mac, she was still doing work and she was still engaged and crossed into that work. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to be when I grow your age. I want to still be on my machine. I want to still be building some stuff. I can't imagine myself not doing it. And if I'm not doing it, then I'm not doing anything. I feel कि मैं तो कुछ करा ही नहीं मैंने आज फिग्मा फाइल में हाथ नहीं लगाया तो क्या गड़बड़ होगी कुछ आज तो. So I have to feel and touch that product. Otherwise, it's just boring. And that's how 15 years have gone by the way.
Yeah, in a flash.
In a flash. And with thousands of variations of files, and which we can't find. So
you can't find.
So archive में होती है वो. And the amazing part is that and the fantastic and amazing part is, Vijay remembers everything. ही विल से राहुल यार हमने ना वो 2 साल पहले वो फाइल बनाई थी, उस पर ऐसे बनाया था, एंड मैं ना वो फट से फिग्मा में या स्केच फाइल ढूंढ रहा हूँ, एंड इन दैट टाइम विजय विल एक्चुअली ओपन दैट फाइल एंड टेल मी ये पड़ी तेरी आर्टबोर्ड. So that is the kind of involvement that you get from your senior people, and they know everything inside out. Yeah, that's the fantastic feel that you get. Yaar, they are part of the process, and that's where innovation happens, right? If they're not part of the process, the innovation never happen. So they have to be completely engrossed, and so is with the leaders of design. I mean, you have to be completely engrossed in what you're doing. Otherwise, there's no fun in it also.
Yeah.
तो आप नौकरी शिफ्ट कर लो, 2 साल बाद कहीं और कर लेना, कुछ भी कर लेना. मतलब आई डोंट फील इट दैट वे. मेरे को लगता है कि मैंने बनाया तो मैं इसको नेक्स्ट लेवल पे लेके जाऊँगा, इसको अब नेक्स्ट लेवल पे लेके जाऊँगा. तो वो फीलिंग कभी आती नहीं आपको कि यार अब तो हो गया बस, अब क्या करूँ नेक्स्ट? क्योंकि आपको पता है अब नया डेटा आ गया है, अब नया कस्टमर आ गया. अब वो कस्टमर की अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ प्रोडक्ट बहुत डिफरेंट है. आप नीचे बॉम्बे में भी जब जाओगे, आप देखोगे हर कोई कस्टमर अलग तरीके से आपसे बात करेगा ना. आप सेम डिज़ाइन किसी को दिखाओगे, किसी का इंटरप्रिटेशन कुछ होगा, किसी का इंटरप्रिटेशन. तो वो जब आपका कस्टमर आपके प्लेटफॉर्म पे आ रहा है तो उसका इंटरप्रिटेशन भी तो डिफरेंट हो ही रहा है. और आपको भी इंश्योर करना है कि आपका डिज़ाइन हर लेवल के कस्टमर, हर रेंज के कस्टमर के लिए रहे. तो वही तो चैलेंज हमें सॉल्व करता है, और हम उसी पीछे पड़े हुए भी कर रहे हैं. तो 15 साल हो गए करते करते, अब आगे और करेंगे, इसको बेटर करेंगे.
I mean, it's so amazing that Vijay does work with you guys and is constantly there. Like, I think one of the things that I always hear when I'm hiring designers is that, why are you leaving a job after 2 years? And many people be like, mera learning curve khatam ho gaya. Now I want to learn more from another company. And then I always wonder that, is there always going to be the cycle for designers where they believe that every 2 years they're going to get saturated?
See, yeah, I mean, very true. And this is what I also felt. But for a case like mine, I was never looking at, first of all, I was never looking at design as a career. मैं तो जब आया डिज़ाइन में तो मेरे को तो बड़ा अच्छा लगा, and I felt great. I was doing coding, by the way. I was doing C++, मैं कोडिंग करता था मैं, और मेरी जॉब लग गई थी यूएस में जाने के लिए. तो एक्सीडेंटली मैं डिज़ाइन में जंप कर गया. एंड जब मैं जंप किया था, आई रियली लाइक्ड इट. एंड देन मोबाइल टेक्नोलॉजी वाज कमिंग इन, सो आई रियली गॉट इनटू इट. So if you're not passionate about something, then you will keep hopping your jobs till the time you realize कि यार अच्छा मेरे को तो कुछ करना चाहिए था. So I think design is something of that kind of a skill. It is not कि एक नौकरी है कि मेरे को जाके करके कंप्लीट करके आना है, कुछ टास्क नहीं है. मतलब ये it can't be a task. Especially nowadays, product design can't be a task. I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't say कि ये मैंने डिलीवर कर दिया तो हो गया. अरे अभी तो उस पर डेटा आएगा, ट्रैफिक आएगा, फनलिंग बेटर करोगे. You can't always get 100 out of 100 in funnels, right? You have to keep on improving your product. You have to keep on innovating new things. So करना है ना, तो next level तो मिल गया आपको करने के लिए, आपको challenge मिल गया. What are you looking for? Are you looking for the next challenge? That means you don't have enough challenges with what you've done till now, or maybe the environment was not given to you.
Yeah.
It could happen that times where people did not get the right environment, they want to jump, which is fair. But if you found the right environment for you, then leaving something in the middle of something, I always call the middle of something because it's not shut down, right?
Yeah.
You're building it, you're growing it. So if you're growing it, then you continue to grow it. ना यार आगे लेके जाओ उसको, next level लेके जाओ. मतलब और lot of times what I've felt now is a lot of people jump because of money. मुझे ज़्यादा पैसे मिल रहे हैं वहाँ पे, मेरे को ये मिल रहा है वहाँ पे, मेरे को डेजिग्नेशन मिल रही है. अरे बॉस, एंड ऑफ द डे डिज़ाइन ही करना है ना.
Yeah.
आप तो डिज़ाइनर ही रहोगे कोर्स से अपने. I mean, either you don't want to be a designer. Say, यार मैंने कर लिया and I want to do something else now. I can't do design. Or this was end for me, end game for me. But if you pick design as your industry, as your field, then you continue to grow it. यार. Something went wrong probably. Of course, you did not work well with the company. Issues आ गए, आपको नहीं अच्छा लगा. A lot of reasons there definitely are there. But if everything is fine and if you're getting the right opportunity, then why not grow with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing is, Vijay, he is not a designer.
Yeah.
He doesn't work on a Figma file like you do. One of the questions that's most commonly asked is, if I am a solo designer, मेरी टीम में कोई डिज़ाइनर है नहीं, मैं सिर्फ co-founder के साथ काम करता हूँ, अभी उसको डिज़ाइन समझ नहीं आता या मेरा लॉजिक समझ नहीं आता because I'm a designer, I've done this research. Now, how did you navigate through that? कि आपने मेरे को एक्सप्लेन किया कि दिस इज द राइट पाथ, दिस इज द राइट पाथ.
And then Vijay always had it, like, as a
Vijay
core.
always had this.
Okay, so
It's like all the design that comes with
Historically, if you go back between me and Vijay, so Vijay started off his career in 2000 and in 2001. That's when I also started. And then, Vijay, I was doing a startup, I was part of a startup, and we used to keep meeting and we should discuss design only. So he always had this कि यार हम ना कभी साथ काम करेंगे, कुछ बनाएंगे बड़ा, कुछ अलग करेंगे. And we kept talking and we kept, kind of interacting on different concepts and everything. हमने काफ़ी बार discussion भी किया concepts का. So finally when I was asked कि तू अब आ जा मतलब Paytm 197 में, the whole discussion was around the fact that now we will build products. क्योंकि अभी तक 197 was doing all vast telco based products on voice. There was nothing digital, nothing data around it. So we discussed कि यार we will build something around digital products and data पे बनाएंगे कुछ, क्योंकि मोबाइल फ़ोन जो है स्मार्टफोन्स आने शुरू हो रहे हैं इंडिया में. तो आ ही रहते थे ज़्यादा. आईफोन नया नया लॉन्च हुआ था 2007-8 के टाइम पे, और एंड्रॉयड भी आया था. तो अभी तो इंडिया में पेनिट्रेशन नहीं हुआ था इतना, बट हमने डिसाइड कर लिया था कि यार यही फ्यूचर है और इसी में बिल्ड करेंगे अब कुछ. तो विजय ने तो एकदम मैंडेट दे दिया कि यार जो तुमने बनाओ, मैं तुम्हें पैसे देता हूँ, बनाना जो बनाओ. हम लिमिटेड लोग होते थे, तो मैंने वो एक वीडियो सर्विस शुरू करी. मैं कहा यार मैं वीडियो बनाऊंगा. तो मुझे कहता हाँ सही है, वीडियो सर्विस बना दें. तो एक वीडियो बनाएंगे, क्योंकि रात को ब्लैकबेरी का फ़ोन होता था ज़्यादातर लोगों के पास, और वीडियो डाउनलोड करने में बहुत टाइम लगता था. तो हम क्या करेंगे, रात को सेट करके छोड़ देंगे, ऑटोमेटिक रात को डाउनलोड हो जाएंगे वीडियो, आप देख लोगे. वहाँ से कॉन्सेप्ट शुरू किया हमने वीडियो का, और इवेंचुअली करते करते हमने प्रॉपर एक वीडियो पेंट करके ऐप बनाई, विच वॉज क्यूरेटेड वीडियो कॉन्टेंट. If I show you the app today, you will say this design is outstanding. मतलब वो इतना अमेजिंग डिज़ाइन था उस टाइम के लिए और आज के लिए भी, कि हमने बोला यार ये तो फीचर है, ये बनाएंगे, और हमने बनाया, हमने लॉन्च भी किया. सेम टाइम पे Paytm बन रहा था. Somebody else was building Paytm as a payment gateway, not as a consumer service. तो this was a consumer service, this was a payment gateway service. उसी तरीके से एक एडवर्टाइजिंग नेटवर्क बन रहा था हमारा. तो हमने बहुत चीज़ें बनानी शुरू कर दी. तो वीडियो पेंट भी हमने 1-2 साल चलाया, एंड तब तक Paytm जो है वो बनना शुरू हो गया. विजय वन फाइन डे सेट कि यार इसको ना कंज्यूमर इंटरफेस लाएंगे इसके ऊपर हम. यू हैव टू बिल्ड दिस एज अ कंज्यूमर फेसिंग प्रोडक्ट, क्योंकि पेमेंट गेटवे बाय सेल्फ स्टैंडअलोन इज जस्ट अ B2B सर्विस. You will have to build something on the consumer that is going to be big. And he had this vision that we will make this big here. This is a payment and we should get into this field only. And we did not know much about payment also that time. तो हम तो बिल्कुल raw जैसा था ना, बिल्कुल fresh से उसके अंदर अपनी बनानी शुरू करी चीज़ें. The first Paytm product was actually a recharge website. तो हमने इतना सिंपल कर दिया रिचार्ज वेबसाइट को. हमने बोला यार बस एक इनपुट फील्ड होगा, मोबाइल नंबर डालो और वहाँ से शुरुआत हो जाएगी आपकी रिचार्ज जर्नी की. उस टाइम पे बाकी वेबसाइट्स एग्जिस्ट करती थी रिचार्ज की, जो कि आपसे अमाउंट डलवाती थी, कूपन सिलेक्ट करती थी, ये करती थी, वो बहुत क्लटर्ड थी उस टाइम के लिए. हमने बोला हम बिल्कुल सिंपल इंटरफेस लेके चलेंगे. तो हमने बिल्कुल सिंपल इंटरफेस लेके वो बनाया और पहली उसकी वो वेबसाइट बनाई. और फिर हमने उसकी पहली ऐप बिल्ड करी, जो कि वेब ब्राउज़र बेस्ड ऐप हमने क्या फटाफट से बना के लॉन्च करी. हमारे पास तो टेक के लोग भी थे, iOS के एंड्रॉइड के लोग भी थे. फिर हमने उडुपी में एक स्टूडियो था, वहाँ पे उसको हायर किया. वहाँ गया मैं उडुपी स्पेशली फ्लाई करके 2 फ्लाइट बदल के टैक्सी में ट्रैवल करके पहुँचना पड़ता था वहाँ पे किसी गांव में जाके. एक बिल्डिंग होती थी उस बड़ी सी, उसमें मैं गया एंड दे वर फैंटास्टिक iOS डेवलपर्स. तो उनके वहाँ गए, रोबोसॉफ्ट, आई मीन दैट कंपनी वाज रोबोसॉफ्ट, बट अमेजिंग गाइज. तो हमने उनके साथ बैठ के पहला अपना एक्चुअली ऐप उनके साथ बैठ के बनाया हमने. एंड देन वी हायर्ड आवर ओन टीम एंड वी बिल्ड. एंड व्हाइल वी वर डूइंग दैट वी बिल्ड Paytm लैब्स, डिज़ाइन लैब्स. हमने अपना डिज़ाइन लैब एक ब्लॉकबस्टर स्टूडियो करके नाम से मैंने बनाया. 6 लोगों की तो टीम थी. तो हमने उसके अंदर एक छोटी सी टीम बनानी एक और, कि यार हम ना एक्सपेरिमेंट्स भी करेंगे. तो हमने Paytm वॉलेट जो था, जो प्रोडक्ट था हमारा, वो हमने उस टाइम पे बना रहे थे और हमने उसकी एक अलग ऐप बनाई. सो Paytm वॉलेट वाज अ सेपरेट ऐप फ्रॉम Paytm. उसके अंदर उस टाइम पे P2P चैट, स्वाइप टू पे, वो सब कुछ होता था. इमेजिन दैट टाइम P2P चैट एंड स्वाइप टू पे, जो अब लोग करते हैं कि आप सी P2P पे करते हैं, हम तब करते थे उसके अंदर स्वाइप टू पे वगैरह सब कुछ. इंटरफेस वॉज लाइक अ वेरी रेट्रो स्टाइल्ड इंटरफेस. तो मेरे पास एक डिज़ाइनर था जो कि बहुत अलग तरीके से सोचता था. वो इंडस्ट्रियल डिज़ाइनर था जिसको मैंने डिजिटल डिज़ाइन सिखाया था. तो वो ऐसे प्रोडक्ट बनाता था अलग से, और ही डिड अ फैंटास्टिक जॉब विद दैट प्रोडक्ट. हमने वो बिल्ड किया, लॉन्च किया, बहुत अच्छा चला प्रोडक्ट. फिर हमने उसको मर्ज कर दिया Paytm के अंदर इवेंचुअली. सो बहुत अच्छी मतलब हमारी एक्सपीरियंसेस रहे उस टाइम पे. और छोटी टीम थी यार, 5-6 लोगों की टीम थी, तो हम लोग बहुत कुछ कर लेते थे. और टू एन एक्सटेंट कि अभी भी एक्चुअली हमारी टीम इज एक्चुअली 50 people. And if you look at Paytm as a service, as a super app, I don't know, we have like 50-60 services probably अंदर होंगी. Recharges, bill payments, LIC, मूवी, आप बस टिकट बुक कर सकते हो, आप इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो, से लेकर आप बहुत कुछ, लोन ले सकते हो, क्रेडिट कार्ड ले सकते हो, बहुत कुछ कर सकते हो. इतनी सर्विसेज है कि आई कैंट इवन काउंट देम दैट वे. एंड स्टिल वी आर 50 people राइट नाउ, जिसमें से कि सिर्फ around 40 years who are UI UX, there are 10 who are actually illustration and animation and motion graphic people. So 40 people are actually making this whole super app which you can see right now. So we've not really grown as a design team, just because the design team is so dedicated and so, they feel the product that way कि यार we are going to build it. तो एक बंदा ना 4 चीज़ें पकड़ लेता है करने के लिए, उनको मजा आता है करने में. तो मैं तो रोटेशन कर देता हूँ मैं बीच में. If you got bored, then you can move between the design team also. You can pick up another task. If you somebody said क्या मैंने बहुत merchant कर लिया, I want to move something, so you come to consumer side. Consumer में what do you want to pick? You can pick up recharge and repayment. You can pick up payments. You can pick up credit services. You can pick up any service that you want to pick up. There's so many of them. And just because there's so less designers, it's an opportunity for everybody to work. तो हर किसी को काम मिल जाता है काम करने के लिए. So everybody is like 200% full on that roster. यार हम तो बिजी रहते हैं, तो मेरे को गालियाँ भी बहुत देते हैं इसलिए कि आप जल्दी हायर करो और लोग. तो वी स्टिल हायरिंग लॉट ऑफ पीपल, एंड एज यू नो इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू हायर इन इंडिया. तो हम लोग ढूंढ रहे हैं अभी और लोग. सो वी वांट यू. वो का ना कौन सा था उसका, यूएस का पोस्टर था ना, यूएस का पोस्टर ना, वी वांट यू.
We want you.
We want you.
Yeah, for the army.
For the army. So we want you. Actually मैंने वो रॉकी,
I took careers at the rate Paytm.
वो रॉकी मूवी भी देखा था मैं. रॉकी में होता ना वो जब फर्स्ट सीजन में बॉक्सिंग करने आता है, वो जो क्रीड होता है, he says I want you. You should join Paytm. एक इंस्टा रील बता रहा, we want you in Paytm. Come join the revolution.
I hope in 3 years Paytm a couple of designers to
Higher.
Paytm is hiring.
I'm always hiring. Now my mandate is we are always hiring now. Because so many services, there are so many things that we're building now.
But it's more about, there is always space for great talent.
There's always space for great talent.
Yeah. If you have great talent, that's
नहीं मैं I hire great talent. मैं निकाल दूँगा किसी को यार, टेंशन मत लो.
Yeah, no.
Of course. actually Soundbox journey से एक interesting point मैं बताता हूँ कि so we always talk about Soundbox as a innovation that we do, but did you realize that there were 2 innovations before that also?
Yeah.
The first was getting people to use digital money, right?
Yeah.
And the second was QR codes, जिसके ऊपर Soundbox eventually built हुआ है. So nobody really talks about QR codes क्योंकि वो इतना ज़्यादा prevalent हो गया. Everybody knows about QR code की वो तो लगता है कि तो innovation भी था क्या? But realistically, that was the first innovation that we did.
Yeah.
How can you actually pay using a QR code? That was the first thing that we did, right?
Yeah.
And that is the first, I think, the mass product which happened. Now everybody knows QR codes.
Yeah.
Even a गाँव वाला, चाय वाला, everybody is carrying a QR code. Soundbox तो ले रहे हैं लोग obviously, but QR code is the first innovation that we did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like so common now. It's like when you go to print something, say Xerox kar lo usko, it's like that. QR code is becoming everywhere and so simplified. And
नहीं वो होता है Paytm कर लो.
Paytm kar lo.
Paytm करो. I think that branding story really did fantastic for us. I mean that whole advertising around Paytm karo, the first campaign that we did, that has really established a fantastic mark in the minds of people. कि अब आप ये नहीं बोलते पेमेंट कर दो, पैसे दे दो, बोलते Paytm करो. So yeah, we kind of set up that thing in motion.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, everywhere.
What was
Paytm karo.
छुट्टे की झंझट को कम.
Yeah, with the rickshaw and everything, very accurate that was. Like I think chutti ka problem is always in public transport.
So a part of design solutions is basically finding that right moment where you want to hint and guy. Finding that nuance कि यार उसको ये समझ आता है या नहीं आता है. छुट्टा सबको समझ आता था, right? Similarly जैसे मैं बता रहा था कि passbook सबको समझ आती है. So why do we still write passbook on that label, in the Paytm balance and history icon. Everybody understands Passbook. We've grown up with Passbook. We realized कि Passbook के तो बैंक अकाउंट में जाके खाता दिखाते थे कि क्या हिसाब किताब है. Passbook ही बोलते थे.
Yeah.
So we started writing with smaller nuances. And that brings to the other point that whenever we design a screen, the copy that we use, we try to be so minimal and so realistic कि आप क्या बोलते होगे शॉप वाले को या दुकान में, आप क्या terminology यूज़ करते हो, that we have maintained that we will not use any technical jargon or any business jargon or any financial jargon in it. Like credit debit is still a complicated word. People don't understand credit आना होता है या जाना होता है. मतलब मैं तो ना स्कूल में अकाउंट्स का नहीं था, तो साइंस में था, तो मेरे को तो बड़ा याद रखना होता था क्रेडिट मतलब आ गया, डेबिट मतलब चला गया, याद रखना पड़ता था.
I used to rely on the green and red. I used to wait if it were colored at least, to know कि गया कि आया.
We have that now. Labeling हमारी green होती है, पैसा आने की. So yeah, I mean, so smaller nuances like this actually helps you build a better product.
Yeah.
And building for India, building for such a large audience, you have to go deeper into understanding कि यार क्या समझ आता होगा लोगों को, क्या करना होता होगा. तो हम लोग ना बहुत एक्सपेरिमेंट्स, बहुत इस टाइप के छोटे डिज़ाइन के डालते रहते हैं चीज़ें अंदर फील देने के लिए. But that works. I mean, that has worked, and we obviously now track a lot of those things which works. But yeah, definitely those things works.
One of the questions that we often get asked by a lot of young designers is that I work in an organization where, my boss might not be a designer, but I have to directly report to him or, explain design to him or convince him why this is the right design option to go for. Now, this is a difficult problem for a lot of young designers to solve. So what would be your approach in this case?
There are multiple approaches, obviously, depending on the kind of design and the kind of problem that you're putting in front of the management also. So a lot of time, management will understand, because if it's business related, they'll understand कि आप क्यों कर रहे हो, क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो. If they don't understand the problem, the other part also is that sometimes they will say कि यार, I am not a designer, you are a designer, you take your best call. End of the day, you will have to take a call. चाहे वो आपको सपोर्ट करे या ना करे, या आपको उसको कन्विंस करना है किसी चीज़ के लिए. तो वो कन्विंस करने के तो बहुत मुश्किल तरीके होते हैं. कई बार इफ दे सीनियर टू यू, फिर तो आपको यार सरमान जॉब ली से मैं ठीक कर देता हूँ. The better way of doing is to present your design with multiple options which probably don't work also. Like historic examples that have not worked, if you can figure them out. See, end of the day, when you're designing something, you've designed that specific screen or whatever based on some experience, some thought, some knowledge. What is that knowledge? What was that experience? If you can bring that to the table, then probably you'll be able to convince them better. You get it? If you were placing, let's say, a button and you're saying, ये मैं लाल बटन से ग्रीन बटन लगाया है क्योंकि हमें उसको सक्सेस बताना है. वो कहता नहीं ऑरेंज क्यों नहीं लगाया आपने, या ब्लू क्यों नहीं लगाया आपने, या कोई और कलर क्यों नहीं लगाया. आप बोलोगे ना यार, बिकॉज रेड कलर इज एसोसिएटेड विद फेलियर, विद सो एंड whatever. Or, this is the kind of experience that people had because of this color. या आप ट्रैफिक लाइट पे जाते हो तो आप रेड कलर देखते हो ना.
Yeah.
So how can you relate those stories to real life stories? How can you relate that to your experiences that you have had in the past? Design is not thinking fresh or out of the box. ऐसा तो बहुत रेयर होगा कि आप कोई नई चीज़ लेके आए होगे. आप you would have repurposed something, some thought or some experience that you had. So when you're designing, can you put that onto a sheet of paper also, say कि this was my thought when I was doing this? Otherwise, whatever you're designing is useless. क्योंकि आप भी जब बना रहे हो तो आप सोच के बना रहे हो ना कुछ, तो यार, what are you thinking? And that is a reflection of a great designer also, na? That he can actually tell you the story around this. So when you talk to somebody who's not a designer and relate them to a real life situation, they will understand it much faster.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you had the discussion about switchboard or not. I don't know if I told you about the story about switchboard.
No, not yet.
So when you try to convince somebody that why is design so relevant or not, and you walk into any office, I'm sure I walk into your office, there's a switchboard there. Yeah. And I ask you, can you switch on the fan? You will think ये कौन सा button fan का है. That is designed for product यार. अभी तक उस पे switch का sign नहीं लगा हुआ. So that is called designing for, right? So I'm trying to come to that. Can you relate things like that? Are you a designer of that nature or not? And can you convince your people accordingly or not? Yeah. So if you're building a design, then there has to be a story around it. And the story, if it's something that you have to convey, that has to be around real examples. So that's one. The second part to this is also fact that a lot of the time people will say, I am not a designer. Yeah, I don't understand design. But that is not true. Everybody understands design. Everybody is a designer in their mind.
Yeah.
It is just that they have not gone through the process of doing something which is design-led. So they don't probably speak that language.
Yeah.
But end of the day, everybody will be doing something or other in a designed way. But the design visual to hota nahi na sirf. Design is experiential, right?
Yeah.
So something has been done in a way, and that is design. So you have to make them realize that you are a designer. And for example, my wife is a fantastic engineer,
Nice.
but she's done a house so well that everybody comes and say, "Are you the Rahul Saini?" I say, "No, this is my wife who designed this house." So, and once you get into that process, see, she is the one who's in the house. She is the one who uses things in the house. So she knows what has to go where. She has to live, more hours in the house than I do, right? So she wants the aesthetics to be in a certain way. If she can translate that aesthetics into that design output, then she's a fantastic designer, right? So when she did it, she realized that she is actually good at it, right? So sometimes people don't get an opportunity to express कि यार हम भी अच्छे designer हैं. Yeah, they don't even think like that. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a designer to push the other person to say, no, you are a great designer because you've done this so well. Even if you're a great business guy, you would have designed some workflow for your organization or something, right? Everything is designed for in the world, right? Nothing comes ki wo aise hi mila tha mere ko.
Yeah.
Right? You have to design for it, right? Every work that you do is designed for. So sometimes it takes that little push and understanding to be given to that person to make him realize. And sometimes some people are ready to go through the process of learning कि यार मैं सीख सकता हूँ इस process को. And so there are two kind of designers, right? One is that you were born with it. You understand design very easily. And others are, most of us, I don't know if that's true or not, but I believe that most of us are people who've gone through the process of learning design and then started relating it to more कि यार अच्छा ऐसे होना चाहिए, being a better critic of it, being a better judge of what is a good design or bad design. Otherwise, a kid doesn't know what is a great design. आप उसके हाथ में कुछ भी पकड़ा दो बनाने के लिए, आप बोलो ये बना दो, वो बना देगा अपने हिसाब से. Is that a good design or bad design? He loves it. It's a great design for him, right? Maybe some more kids in the class understand what his design is a great design. Some of them will not understand it's a great design. It's fine. So, but once he gets into the process of creating things, he creates, he refines, right? And then end of the day, one fine day, he'll come up with something fantastic. And this is what I was talking about, when you create clutter, you create a mess, आप बहुत घटिया डिज़ाइन बनाओ बहुत सारे.
Yeah.
मतलब आप बोलोगे घटिया नहीं है, आप तो अच्छे बोलोगे, बट आप बना रहे हो बहुत सारे डिज़ाइन और वो आप उनको हटा जा रहे हो, you're disregarding them, right? Why? Because you don't like certain aspects. Eventually you will reach one point, you will say, yeah, this is fine now. This is what I wanted. So you have to go through the process of refining, building, but you have to be completely focused and involved into it.
Yeah.
And that's when you eventually come with a fantastic design.
Very true. Very well said. I think designers are very equipped to solve problems and they need their bosses or their immediate managers to throw problems at them. Like leaders don't need to necessarily know everything about design, but they can understand the consumer's experience, the business requirements, and instead of putting it like a brief, be like,
so exactly what you said. They know what the consumer wants. So they know half of the problem, right? And knowing half the problem is designing for it, right?
Yes.
अगर आपको problem है तो design क्या कर रहे हो?
Exactly.
So business guys actually know better the problem. Those guys who are in the field. So for us, it is about when we do reviews, my business guy is also there. Yeah. He's giving inputs on the screen because he knows that the merchant or the consumer is, when he's interacting, what are the problems he's facing, what is he looking for, are we solving that problem or not? Sometimes as a designer, you are not convinced कि यार ये होना चाहिए.
Yeah.
But the business guy will tell you, no, this is what he wants. And as a matter of fact, a lot of times I've felt a lot of design that we've done, which we did not like, but we still did it, have worked better for the customer because that's what he really wanted. हम तो अपने डिजाइनर के एंगल से देख रहे थे, नजरिए से देख रहे थे, बट रियलिटी में उसको क्या चाहिए था, यू डोंट रियलाइज ना, जब तक आप फील्ड में नहीं उतरते. इसलिए फटाफट शिप कर दो. आप डिज़ाइन पे जितनी देर रखोगे उसको आप सोचते रहोगे कि ये और अच्छा हो सकता है, ये और अच्छा हो सकता है. कि एज ए डिज़ाइनर यू वांट टू मेक श्योर इट इज परफेक्ट. यू नेवर रीच परफेक्शन. इट नेवर गोना हैपन, राइट? You can definitely iterate upon it. You have an opportunity to iterate. But you don't have the opportunity to not ship it and say कि यार मैं तो स्कोर बेटर कर देता हूँ, अभी तो थोड़ा डिले कर लेते हैं, स्कोर बेटर कर लेते हैं. तब तक तो मार्केट निकल गई, वो बंदा निकल गया, कस्टमर निकल गया,
तो कॉम्पिटिटर
आगे चला गया. So you have to ship and you have to learn faster. You have to read your data faster. अगर आपके पास बहुत डेटा आ रहा है तो आप उसको अच्छी जल्दी रीड करो, बेटर रीड करो, उसको और इम्प्रूव करो, नेक्स्ट वर्जन पे जाओ, उसको रीड करो. 100% आप कभी कर नहीं पाओगे लाइक ऐसे. तो आप हमेशा उसको इम्प्रूव करते रहो. तो इवेंचुअली यू विल से कि नाउ दिस इज गेटिंग बेटर. तो एक दिन आएगा आप उसको भी मैस बना दोगे, फिर आप वापस आओगे उसके कि स्कोर क्लीन करते हैं वापस. हमने बहुत ज़्यादा कर दिया, उसको वापस ले आते हैं थोड़ा सा. सो यू कैन कीप iterating.
It's not about perfection. It's about just making sure that you're being part of the process and your mindset is in the right
See,
space.
at one point in time, in terms of design also, you will set your guidelines perfectly. एक बार आप आके कहते हो कि यार ये ना बेस गाइडलाइंस ठीक है हमारी, अब हमने बहुत कर लिया, ये इसको बेस बना लेते हैं. जब आप डिज़ाइन सिस्टम बना लेते हो, हमारा डिज़ाइन सिस्टम, you won't believe, it came out after almost 9 years probably.
9 years.
We did not have a design system for long. तो मेरे को लगता है यार नहीं अभी और ये बना दिया तो फिर नेक्स्ट कैसे करेंगे. फिर हमने कहा नहीं, अपना स्केल की प्रॉब्लम भी है हमारी, हमें स्केल भी करना है और जल्दी स्केल करना है. तो हमने फिर एक डिज़ाइन सिस्टम बनाया बहुत एफर्ट लगा के, वो बना दिया, हम उसको लॉन्च करते हैं. तो मेरी टीम का ये क्वेश्चन होता है यार डिज़ाइन सिस्टम आ गया तो लिमिटेशंस हो जाएंगे. मैंने कहा नहीं, ये बेस है आपका. दिस इज नॉट लिमिटेशन, दिस इज नॉट गोइंग टू लिमिट यू, दिस इज योर बेस. You build on top of this, and if you come up with something new or better than what we have, we will introduce into the design system. That's how design system will also grow, and will give better experience to the customers. End of the day, design system is there to ensure that we deliver faster and better experience to the customer. If you have something better to give, obviously will you make sure this goes up, right? You can't keep the design system at the lowest level and say कि यार तो मैं इसको ऊपर बनाता रहूँगा, फिर वही your back and bespoke designing, right? The design system has to evolve that way also.
So burnout is part of every human's life. What are some of the methods you practice to recharge your workday?
Usually burnout is not, it's a couple of reasons for burnout, right? Either you get stressed because of what you're doing or you're overloaded. I'm not usually both. I usually get burnout because there are a lot of things to handle at the same time, and I'm doing long meetings, long hours at times. I start quite early at times. I start at 6 in the morning at times, and at times I end at 2 in the night also. So my burnouts are usually for those reasons. Creative burnout is a little different from these burnouts, but yeah, both the cases, I handle it in a very different fashion. So since the COVID has started, so it's been a very different way of doing it. Earlier, तो हम नीचे टपरी वाले पे चाय पीने चले जाते थे, and yeah, फिर talk to some other teammate, walk around in the office and all that. But now what I usually do is I have a small garden which I go bare feet walking. Or I go to my terrace, which has my plants, in which I grow my own vegetables. So I go and check them out at times. I have a pet dog, so I'll play around with her at times. Or I usually have a cycle in my room.
A cycle.
I take a 5 minutes break, I'll go on my cycle and just do quick few rounds, and it really burns you out very fast. Release the stress basically. Yeah. So I do those kind of things, play some music, watch TV in between. So I'll take breaks. Sometimes I'll take longer breaks also. If it has been a longer day, I'll take a longer break also in between and do something if I can. But that's the usually way of what I handle things. I don't really go out, in a creative break कि यार अब देखो कुछ creative करना है, क्योंकि वो होता ही नहीं, वो मेरे से हो ही नहीं पाता, because I'm always thinking the same work. So my idea of the break is to stop thinking that and do something else. But while doing that, if I can think of what I was trying to solve for, that is great. Yeah. So cycling really works that way, because if I get on my cycle, I'm, burning out, and then I get something idea, so I can really stop and
just literally burning out.
Yeah, so I really get back to what I'm doing. And walking really helps. Barefoot walking in the grass really helps me out. It really de-stresses you, because you're not really thinking work. You're kind of de-stressing in a way. Really de-stressing in a way. That really helps.
Well, that sounds like heaven. Great way to relax.
But yeah, you don't get too much of time there, Yeah. So because of the kind of calls that we do, so yeah. But yeah, it really helps. It really helps.
But you talk about Jay and you have this different. When you talk about him, you know that it is not.
So basically,
comfortable.
Yeah. So basically, for me, it's about I don't usually have the personality in which I am very serious. I have a personality in which I always, talk very comfortable, casual to anybody. Like just if, for example, first time probably we spoke also, I would not be arky that you are some other guy and I should be very cautious and all that. So मेरी nature ही नहीं है. It's like I get very serious with people, and obviously there's nothing to hide, right? तो हम लोग सब सेम ही काम करते हैं, सबको पता है reality क्या है, अंदर डिजाइन में क्या चलता है, क्या नहीं चलता, and we all grown up in the same environments in a way. It's not that somebody's come up from somewhere else और हमारे ऊपर superimpose कर रहा है कुछ तो. So I think the natural connect happens automatically with people for me. And I think majority of it is to do with the fact that I usually like to joke around with people and have fun conversations.
Observed, and that's a great trait.
So
if it's not humorous or if it's not fun, then you never have a conversation. And
So I was never like that, but I was in school. I was never like that. I was a very shy kid. I was not studious, like I said. I was not of that nature. Ki मैं कुछ बड़ा होके designer बनूंगा types and all that. Nothing of that sort. It just happened to happen that I started liking things and I got into it and I started moving about it. So that is the aspect of the designer. ना मैं बोलता हूँ कि यार आप करते रहो आपको ना अंदर कुछ मिलता रहेगा उसके फिर आप further develop करते रहो कि उसमें और क्या है. Eventually you will reach a point where you will now start realizing, okay, this is what it means to be a designer. Day one, you pass out of college, you will not be a great designer, right? You will know a lot of things. You will be theoretically sound. You might be theoretically sound than me in probably a lot of things if you pass out of college. I have never passed out of design college, so I don't know कि क्या पढ़ाते हैं.
Even I haven't.
So,
Then I know design education.
So same way. मतलब जब है ही नहीं तो आप क्या करोगे? आप वही पढ़ोगे जो आपको ऑनलाइन अवेलेबल है. आपने पढ़ लिया नहीं पढ़ा. मेरे केस में तो it was completely hands on. My first job, like I said, advertising, जहाँ मैंने शुरू किया, and my dad taught me everything. So he asked me, do you know Corel? I said no. He said, do you know freehand? I said no. So what do you know? I said I know Photoshop only. कितना आता है? I said हाँ आता है थोड़ा बहुत. से अच्छा ये ना एक फोटो इसमें ना हीरो का शूट करके आया था वहाँ पे, तो इसके स्पोक्स काट के दे मुझे, जो बाइक के स्पोक्स होते हैं. ऐसे कैसे? तो ऐसे तो इतना नहीं आता फोटोशॉप. मैं नहीं, इसे ठीक है मैं तो सिखाता हूँ. तो ही टॉट मी लिटिल बिट ऑफ थिंग्स, बट द मोमेंट ही टॉट मी आई क्विकली पिक्ड अप. मैंने फटाफट आई स्टार्टेड डूइंग इट. Then there used to be a DTP guy there in the office. So I used to call him after office hours. He said, teach me Corel. So he taught me Corel. Because I knew everybody in the industry at that time was using Corel design. So he taught me Corel. Then I joined a design studio and another company. Then they used to use freehand. But then I realized that once you know the knack of how to work around a software, all the softwares you will be able to eventually jump on very fast.
Correct.
So like a transition from Photoshop to Sketch to Figma was kind of very natural. I did not struggle there. It was very easy. I might not know all the tricks. I might not know all the shortcuts now. अभी मेरे हाथ Photoshop के shortcuts या Corel के shortcuts में चले आता है अभी. Because वो इतना किया था कि वो तो बस गया था अंदर. But still, jumping between software is not an issue now. But that is not what design is, right? तो मैं तो पोर्टफोलियो स्कैन करता हूँ किसी का, या फिर वो स्कैन जिसने लिखा होता है ना स्किल सेट्स में, फोटोशॉप में ऐसे लाइन डाली होती है इतनी प्रोग्रेस की, फिर फ्री हैंड में इतनी, तो मैं पूछता हूँ यार ये कितनी प्रोग्रेस है? 60% डेफिनेटली अफोर्ड नहीं है. और ये क्यों है? इसका मतलब क्या है? मतलब वो पहला बंदा वही फेल है मेरे लिए. If I read a resume which talks about your skills in Photoshop, freehand, I said, यार, he is not a designer who I want.
Correct.
I need a designer who talks about design. और डिज़ाइनर का पोर्टफोलियो ना या रिज्यूमे कितना सिंपल होगा ना, वो डिफाइन करेगा कि वो कितना अच्छा डिज़ाइनर है, कितना अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, तो उसको कितना पता है अपने बारे में. जो बहुत ऑब्जेक्टिव लिखेगा ना ज्ञान बांट के कि ये ऑब्जेक्टिव है मेरा, ये करना है, ऐसे करना है, वो बहुत ही फिर अलग डायरेक्शन में जाना जाता है.
एक क्वेश्चन आ रहा है राहुल, दैट यू से दैट रेज्यूमे जितना सिंपल जितना अच्छा, आई गेट इट टू अ सर्टेन एक्सटेंट, आई गेट इट.
Yeah, it's correct.
But you cannot judge a person without looking at a case study.
Correct.
I mean, let's talk about this, that a designer who's creating a case study, उसकी case study में आपको देखना क्या है, और what do you expect that yeah, this is good and this is bad. Like I don't mean to tell you functional skills, but maybe the story, maybe the UX, whatever.
So end of the day, even a case study is following a problem, right? The first step that I always look is how well defined the problem is.
Yeah.
Has it really put this brain into the key problem है क्या, and why is it arising? What am I solving for? Right? If you know what you're solving for, then the case study will obviously be correct. आपने उसको बहुत अच्छे तरीके से solve किया होगा. But अगर आपने problem statement को गलत read कर लिया, then your output is going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Right? I have seen resumes where people have sent case studies and they were not able to defend their case studies. यार आप एक चांस है आपके पास अच्छा सा पोर्टफोलियो बना के भेजने का, एक केस स्टडी भेजने का. एक केस स्टडी भेजो ना, 10 मत भेजो. Just do one. if you're a college student, just do one case study. Don't show 10,000 things that you've done to me. Show one thing that you really understood and why. One foolproof which you're 100% confident that I can fight for this year. And if you don't fight it out, ना अगर मैंने पूछ लिया सवाल कुछ उल्टा तुम नहीं कर पाए डिबेट मेरे साथ या नहीं डिफेंड कर पाए डिजाइन को, then you've not done the job right.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are able to defend.
And it's okay to be wrong.
It's okay to be wrong. It's your point of view, right? My point of view could be different, right?
Correct.
Say either you will convince me or I'll convince you.
Correct.
A lot of time I have gotten convinced by people also.
Correct.
It's not about कि तुम junior हो या senior हो. Even now in my team I tell them, I said I don't care if you're a junior or a senior or whatever level you are. Like I said, you have to work. You have to be hands-on. Means you have to solve for a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to make sure that आप कुछ भी हो यार, I learn from you. There's a lot of learning which I get from my juniors now because they come up with a fresh mindset.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people who come from legacy will have a certain mindset. My mindset will be a little legacy right now because I've worked in the same domain for a longer time, right? I might not be a right person to answer for a certain specific domain or a specific industry, for that matter. I can talk about design probably there. I can talk about whether the solution that they've done for that industry is correct or not, based on whatever they present. But I might not be the right guy, right? But I'll understand from you. मैं सीख लूँगा. So I'm going to be open to learning from you.
Yeah.
Ki how or what you've done. And if I like it, I want to take it as an advisory and put it in my work also, yaar.
Yeah.
That's how you learn and grow.
Correct.
अब मैं सोचता हूँ कि मैं अब टॉप पे आ गया, मेरे ऊपर कोई नहीं है, तो मैं सीखूंगा कैसे यार? मतलब I also have to learn from someone, right? And you will learn from your peers only. And for me, even my junior most guy is my peer. So even till date, I'll work with my junior most guy also. I'll be on the Figma file with him. I'll say, no, who has made this design? You give me your review. तूने बता तूने ऐसे क्यों बनाया? क्योंकि मैं भी कल जब किसी को प्रेजेंट करूँगा वो डिज़ाइन, I have to understand why did you make that? Whether I'm convinced with that or not. Right? So वो process जो है ना, ये सारा सीखने का, सिखाने का, it is a continuous thing in motion.
When I'm 19, with this $5,000 in my pocket, and Rohan and I both don't have fathers, so our moms are our business mentors, basically for us. So my mom is like, hey, I mean, तेरे पास 3 महीने हैं कमाने के लिए, नहीं होगा तो जॉब ले ले, बड़ कंपनी थोड़ा सोच के करो. I was like, नहीं मेरे को करना है ये. So I started it. And I was like, what do I name my company? Okay. And I, because I was in a startup before this, I learned that if you have to do something, just do it quickly because like fail fast so that you know whether it's working or not. So I was like, I like fruit names. Like I like apples, so I like fruit names. So I'm going to like think of fruit names that are there. So I made a list of all the fruits that are possibly. Then I started reading them out loud to people around me. And pineapple stuck to everyone's mind.
Easier to absorb and connect with.
Like, let's do pineapple. And then Rohan and I brainstormed together as to like, why did pineapple really stick through when it started showing results for us as a company, the name. And then we realized that pineapple as a fruit has a very deep meaning related to UX UI design. The fruit's core that is there, we treat it like the product of a company, which you can't touch, you can't edit, you can't do anything. It has to be the way it is. Then you have the UX, which is the meat that comes in, which is tasty, which you enjoy, the experience. And then you have the skin, which is the UI, which is pokey. You can't do like, it's like pretty and really great, but you can't do anything with it. Like,
so you purely say you're a UI UX company?
Product design company.
Product design company.
Yeah.
Only,
like
okay.
Rohan and I enjoy designing products because our background came from there. So website बनाने इतना ठीक है, मजा नहीं आता है. But like when we do product design, we live the life of that product in order to build it.
So I used to run my own thing at one point in time called Creative Karma.
Yeah.
So my company was called Creative Karma that time. कि जो कर्म करेंगे वो creative करेंगे. Nice, interesting. Also the fact that I thought that you were diversified into multiple aspects of design. Well, pineapple has all these different spokes coming out. So maybe it's diversification of design also.
Yeah, it could be. Like we're trying to put the whole experience in one place. Like from your UX writing to your designing to your with storytelling to everything. Like we become so passionate about what we design. We go like we want to like make sure that even if you're, because the success of the product also depends on your marketing and sales, right? So a lot of times we see a lot of our clients do the design and everything works well, but when they're marketing it or selling it, they're not doing such a great job. So their conversions are not, making a change. So we try to involve ourselves in everything. Literally,
I think
designers.
see all of that is related to the storytelling, like I said.
Yeah.
अगर आप जो product बना रहे हो, there is a story behind it.
Yeah.
Then whenever you're talking to business about that, there is a story behind it.
Yeah.
When they are presenting it to marketing, there is a story behind it. That story is easily connectable then.
Yeah.
And that's how then I could talk with the campaign, ki Paytm karo campaign and chuttega. So everything is a story, right? Because you had this problem, so we created this solution, and that's why we want to talk about the problem only. Exactly. Everybody's facing that problem. So end of the day, it's all about storytelling, right? Yeah. And that's why design. A lot of people say design is storytelling.
Yeah.
Which is true. It's exactly what it is, right?
Awesome. So this brings me to the pineapple signature question. What does product design mean to you?
All right. So off lately, I've kind of changed my answers in a way. I would say that if I were to answer this a couple of years back, would have been different. Now it is more about, the typical answer that you will get is about problem solving, right? Product design is problem solving, finding the right questions, getting the right answers to the user. But what I feel is that there are two aspects of product design. One is making the experience human for your audience. The technology experience human first. At the end of the day, whatever we're doing in product design is building technology at the back of it, right? How can we create an easier experience for that customer? A lot of people don't understand technology, right? अगर मैं किसी को बोलूँगा कि चैट जीपीटी में ये होता है पीछे, या पेमेंट ऐसे होता है पीछे, या आपको ये करना है या वो करना है, people do not understand, right? It's eventually about making that solution for them, that technology which we have built is easily accessible by your users. So one part of product design is that. The other part of product design is about innovating that same thing that you've done, that technology has done. Can designers really come up with solutions which does not exist, or solutions that are going to enhance that experience for the customer further more? So product design really to me is closing that gap between technology and experience for customers. That's as simplest answer I can give you.
Wow, that's amazing. And with that ends our episode 1 for season 1. And thank you so much for being there and flying down from Delhi to Mumbai early in the morning for this podcast. It's been an amazing experience having a conversation with you. And I hope our audience enjoys it too.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk to fellow designers.
All right.
Great. Thank you.